Mr. Tree was not always in the world of Sprunki. This is his sad origin story. Mr. Tree, a wise old tree, with a heart as big as his big green bush. Mr. Tree was known throughout the village for his sage advice and gentle demeanor. He always had a kind word and an apple for anyone who knocked on his door. His voice a comforting creak. But behind his warm smile, Mr. Tree harbored a quiet sadness. Years ago, his wife had disappeared, leaving only a faded missing poster tacked to the front porch, a constant reminder of his loss. One blustery autumn day, a whirlwind of fur and energy burst into Mr. Tree's life. It was Sandy, a female squirrel, with a bright spirit and a nose for adventure. She was an itinerant artist, traveling the land in search of inspiration, and she needed a temporary place to stay. Mr. Tree, with his creaky charm and spacious attic room, seemed like the perfect landlord. Sandy brought a whirlwind of activity to Mr. Tree's quiet life. She filled the attic with canvases of paints and curious found objects. Acorns, feathers, lost buttons. She'd chatter excitedly about her art, her words tumbling over each other like acorns down a roof. Mr. Tree, in turn, would share stories of the village, of its quirky inhabitants and its history. His voice a soothing cream that calmed Sandy's restless spirit. They spent their evenings by the fire, Sandy sketching furiously, while Mr. Tree read aloud from his worn collection of poetry. They shared comfortable silences and easy laughter, their companionship a balm to their lonely hearts. But misfortune seemed determined to test Mr. Tree. One day, a notorious flock of starlings, infamous for their relentless invasions, at penchant for chaos, spotted Mr. Tree. With a flurry of feathers and a cacophony of screeches, they descended upon him like a living storm. Sandy, ever the brave adventurer, leapt into action. She scrambled up and down the walls, shouting at the intruders. But the starlings were many, their sharp beaks and relentless wings, overwhelming her valiant efforts. Mr. Tree cried, his voice creaking with desperation, as he swatted at the flock with his branches. He tried to shield Sandy, his branches trembling with determination. Yet, despite his best efforts, the flock managed to grab hold of Sandy, and with a flurry of black wings, carried her away into the sky. Mr. Tree called, his voice cracking with grief. Determined not to lose her, he shuffled after the flock, his sturdy yet slow stump. Struggling to keep up with their darting forms, he pushed through the dense woods, calling her name and scanning the skies. But the starlings were swift, and the vastness of the forest swallowed their trail. Determined to save Sandy, Mr. Tree ventured deeper into the dense forest, following the faint trail of feathers left by the starlings. His journey was fraught with challenges. Soon he found himself at the edge of a murky swamp. The ground beneath him turned soft and treacherous, sucking at his roots with each step. The air buzzed with the hum of insects, their bites stinging his bark as if mocking his efforts. Struggling against the clinging mud, he spotted a sturdy branch floating nearby. Using it as leverage, he managed to pull himself free, his determination growing stronger despite the ordeal. As the forest grew darker, Mr. Tree encountered a steep ravine cutting through his path. A fragile swaying bridge stretched across the void, its wooden planks groaning with age. Gathering his courage, he stepped onto the bridge, each step a precarious test of balance. focusing on one step at a time until he reached the other side. Weary but undeterred, Mr. Tree pressed on. His body creaked with exhaustion, but his heart burned with the hope of finding Sandy. It was then, as twilight blanketed the forest, that a faint, otherworldly melody reached his ears, guiding him toward a glowing hut nestled among the trees. Exhausted and disheartened, deep within the woods, a faint melody drifted through the air. The sound was otherworldly, a delicate harmony of tinkling chimes, lilting flutes, and soft strings. That seemed to echo from the very heart of the forest. Drawn to the music, Mr. Tree followed the sound until he came upon a small hut nestled among the trees, its walls glowing faintly as if bathed in moonlight. Tendrils of golden light streamed from the windows, and the melody seemed to hum in rhythm with his heartbeat. Tentatively, he stepped inside. The moment Mr. Tree crossed the threshold, the air around him shimmered with magic. The room was alive with music, and the instruments seemed to play themselves, dancing on invisible strings. As the music swirled around him, he felt his body grow lighter, his old branches straightening, his creaks softening into smooth, fluid movements. Energy surged through him, his sorrow melting away like morning mist. He saw Sandy. She was saved in the magical hut. When the music reached its crescendo, Mr. Tree stood transformed. He found himself in a vibrant, surreal world. Here he was no longer alone. The world welcomed him, and he found his purpose once more, transformed and free. He had faced the darkness and found a way to keep going. He was forever in the world of Sprunki.
Sprunki Brood, this is his tale. A journey inside the bucket's veil. A sweet, strange world, so wide and new. This is your story, all about you. Sprunki Brood touched the pail and woke up in a candy trail. Cotton candy, clouds and syrup streams, a world that felt just like his dreams. With his bucket hat and blinking eye, he walked through the land under a popcorn sky. Lost and confused, but he stayed so brave, through gummy bears and marshmallow caves. Sprunki Brood in a candy land, facing fears with no helping hand. Through the bucket his path is clear. Sprunki Brood, have no fear. The marshmallow cave showed his past, sad moments he thought would always last. But Brood kept moving, step by step, through sticky roads where memories crept. Gummy snakes came from every side, but syrup rains made them slide. He floated away on the syrup stream, still holding tight to his glowing dream. Sprunki Brood in a candy land, facing fears with no helping hand. Through the bucket his path is clear. Sprunki Brood, have no fear. Then he saw it, big and bright, a giant bucket shining with light. Music played, soft and sweet, calling him forward, guiding his feet. Brood stepped inside and closed his eyes, and felt the warmth of candy skies. He wasn't alone, he belonged at last. The world of Sprunki held him fast. Sprunki bred in a candy land, facing fears with no helping hand. Through the bucket, his path is clear. Sprunki bred, have no fear. Sprunki bred, your story's done. You found your place under the sun. The magical bucket showed you how. Sprunki bred, you're home now.